Hello, friends. Okay, well, everything says that we are live, so happy Thursday. Every Thursday, we have Three on Thursday, where we make three cards and I give you instructions on how to do it, including the sizes and all of the information for you to recreate it exactly as I show it, or for you to use your own stuff and kind of do your own thing. So, shall we get started? Let's do that. In case I didn't say it, my name is Michelle. I am Crafters Northwest, and the majority of the supplies that I do use are Stampin' Up! Supplies. So, let's go ahead and get started with our first card. We are going to make a couple of these because I wanted to show you kind of my tricks that I learned on how to do them. So, we are going to need two of them for our card. And so I have cut the bases from one of the grays in the neutral pack. This is the lighter color cool gray as opposed to warm gray. And I do apologize, I don't know the grays yet. I know it's not basic gray. And we are cutting these out of the Secret Garden thin cuts, which are still available. And then I have cut two sets of the blossoms. Now, so they do come like this, and I need to take off my glasses so that I can see. Okay, so they do. Well, that would have been good to know. So they do line up, oops. Well, they do line up like this. I believe, anyway. So these are the blossoms. I've cut them out. Originally, I was putting them all in this little cup, and I was like, oh, I don't know the blossoms well enough. So then I recut them out, and each of these is one set. So I'm going to dump them out here, and of course I'm going to save those lids for another time. I am going to use my Take Your Pick tool. And turn these all right side up. Okay, and I am going to keep them separated. Sometimes it's just easier to do tweezers. Okay, so because I do have, I'm going to move the microphone down a little bit so you can maybe hear me a little bit better. Okay. And of course, hello to Otis. So because I have these done right here already, it makes it a little easier to know which blossom goes where. So I would recommend figuring that out before you put the glue down, because it's a weird one. Okay, so I know that this one is the bottom one on this side. Okay, and then the Groot looking one is the center. root. And what do we have? We have well, let's go with what we know. We know that this little guy is going to be the center on this side. So this one is the bottom. So this one kind of looks almost like a weird Girl Scout trefoil shape. Okay. And then the slanted one that's left goes on the left. Stop, please. And then that means this one is the very top. Okay, simple enough. So I'm going to take my Tombow. Okay. And I'm just going to put small dots on each flower spot. I'm not adding more, I'm just spreading it. And I'm going to do the same on the other one. If you spread out your glue, then it won't squish up through the centers. Now you're going to want some tweezers or a piercing tool, or even just take off the end of the take your pick tool. Now there is a picture on the packaging, and I probably could have saved myself some time and looked at that the first go round. But of course, that's not what my brain was thinking. Oh, I have that one upside down. This takes much concentration. Okay, so we have that. I have those put together. So let me show you what else we are going to need. So you already know that we're using the Secret Garden thin cuts. We are using Attention Shoppers for our birthday sentiment. We are using Layers of Beauty die cuts. We're not actually using the stamp or the stamp itself, just using the die cuts. Excuse me. And painted lavender also for the die cuts, not the stamps. All right, so the purple flowers that we have here are Blackberry Bliss. And so we have, oh, I do not have a base. One second. All right, let's do that really quick. Good news is it is really quick. So I have some thick white cardstock here, and I'm going to score this at 5.5. So this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and I do that multiple times just so I can make sure it has a nice, decent score. And then we are going to turn it and cut it at 4 1/4. And now we have 2 card bases. All right, so we have a card base and an envelope. So like I said, this is the thick, basic white, thick white, whatever version of words it is. It's the thick white stuff. We have white at 4 by 5 1/4, and we have a, what is this, Regal Winter, sorry, DSP. This stuff is beautiful, so beautiful. So front and back. So this would look great with this one. You know what? I think I might do this one way. I did not get to finish putting the other one together, so I will put both of them together. And I'll use this on one and this on the other. And I'll do the other one off camera, just because it'll go together the same. That way you guys don't have to watch if you don't want to. So, I'll tell you what, I will put both of them on, and then we can go from there. All right, so those are the full size, not die cut pieces. So when we get to the die cut pieces here in a moment, I will try to tell you what color they are, because I'm still learning. So we are just going to center this on our front. And burnish it because of the liquid glue. So I do recommend, if you are making a card, you might as well make 2, right? You're gonna have all your stuff out. And when you're cutting this piece, if you cut it at the 4 inches, so it'll be 4 by 12, you can easily get that second piece from that strip of paper. All right, so these are the bases for the cards. All Right, I have the camera a little bit lower today because we're going to do so much intricate work today. So let's move forward. I do have envelopes. I did say that already. I am not doing anything to the envelope today, although it would be easy to do by using the corresponding stamp that goes with this paper. You could easily add on a stamp onto the envelope. So here are some of our other pieces. So we have our inside. Oh, I should have cut a piece of that paper for the outside. Okay, so here is our inside strip, right? Same as the front. And then here are all of our pieces. So we have two in case I screw up on camera. So you only need one. It's 1/2 inch by something. It is literally a scrap, and we're going to make it smaller, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. So we have these leaves are from the Painted Lavender, as are these leaves. So these guys are in Thick White. These guys are in Crumb Cake. And we have these leaves, which we may not use all of them. And these leaves are from Layers of Beauty. And we have this same gray cardstock as our other flowers. And this is Night of Navy. So I'm going to kind of move these up a little bit. Let's go ahead and stamp. And we're going to stamp in Blackberry Bliss. Perfect. All right. We are done stamping for this card. So we do not need the other one. Hooray! We will set that off to the side. So we have our inside piece. Let's see here. You know what? We might as well just put both of these together, right? It will take almost 0 extra time. And that way you can see that it really, now it will depend on the card, of course, right? One of the cards that we're going to do next, it's going to take extra time doing a second one, but that's okay too. Sorry, I needed to fix that. It was coming off the edge, and we did not want that. So I would love for you to let me know that you're here and watching. And you will have to let me know before you see what's happening with the card. Are you liking the flowers or the purple better? See, when I get done, I'm going to have a hard decision to make. I asked my sister what her favorite colors were, and she told me purple and blue. So me being the big sister, I made her give me more information because, come on now. Those are two very, very broad realms. So, I sent her an image of Stampin' Up's colors, and her favorite colors are Blackberry Bliss and Night of Navy. So then, I'm like, I have the perfect paper, and it's her birthday today. So I was like, why not make a birthday card? So that's what we're doing. We are making a birthday card. So we are only adding a little bit of glue at the base here. And we're going to kind of have it angled. So if we look at thirds, right, we're going to have it kind of on this 1/3 line, and it's going to be angled just a little bit. We're going to do the same kind of over here. And I did cut this one short, and that's done on purpose. But it will get hidden, so no need to worry there. All right. So let's actually go ahead and just do both of them at the same time. So I want this to have some extra dimension and extra pop, which is why we are not gluing all the way to the top of these. Okay, so next, Dakota just came into the room, and so Otis is like, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. All right, so we are adding these crumb cake pieces. See, and we are already covering that little area right there. Does not take a lot of glue, and you definitely don't want a ton of glue because that will seep out and make a mess. If you think that you will have a problem with how much glue you use when you're doing this, use the fine line glue, because when that is dry, it will not be sticky. It'll be shiny, but it won't be sticky. So that will help. Okay, now we want to take our larger Night of Navy pieces, we're just going to kind of tuck those in. I'm just adding a dot of glue between those bottom 2 leaves. And just kind of tucking it in so it sticks out. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing kind of on the other side. But this time I'm going to kind of interlace it with some of the other pieces. So the stem is underneath the white piece, but the leaf is on top of the white piece, which I'm not sure if I'll be able to do over here. Can't do it. I had the glue a little bit too close on the white piece. Okay. Next up, we have our gray leaves. This one's just going to get a dot in that center spot. I'm going to kind of fill in the center between the 2 crumb cake pieces. And then this one we're going to essentially line up so our bases touch here, our stems. Repeat on our other card. I love these long tweezers. We got them when we went to Daiso. That was a fun trip. Okay, so we do have more leaves. But before we add them, we need to add our flowers and our sentiment. And our twine. And possibly, some ribbon as well. Okay. Yes to the ribbon. We're going to, it's just, okay. Actually, let me let's re-stamp this. This strip that I just grabbed is 3/8 of an inch. So let's see if this fits. Oh, it fits perfectly. Okay. I'm going to cut that too long. So that we can figure out how long we do want it. And I think that is good. Okay, so that is that. This is going to be my little cheat here. Okay. So we cut it off, and this is the same angle here, right? This is where we cut. So then I put that on here so it lines up with the edge of my sentiment, the very, very edge. Not sure if you can see that. There we go. And then I cut off the extra piece where our edge is. So now this is the same space at this end, so we can repeat that at our front end. Pretty nifty trick, huh? Now our front and end have the same spacing. So I'm going to cheat and do this again for our second card. Okay. Hooray. So I am going to attach this on our ribbon like that. Okay, so to do that, the easiest way is going to be with some tear and tape. So, like its name implies, this is a sticky tape that you can just tear. You can cut it, you don't have to tear it, but you don't have to. Alright, I'm going to take the backing off. And I'm going to cheat a little bit and use the spatula. Perfect. Okay, that definitely comes up better with the piercing end rather than the spatula end. And I'm just going to leave a little bit of space, not a ton. Probably just shy of an inch. And I am going to repeat that edge. Trying to match that space on either side. Okay, so doing it that way, that is our excess ribbon. So I love to not waste our ribbon. It's too pretty. It's too pretty to waste. All right. Next up, we need let's go with 2 glue dots. Actually, let's not go with glue dots. Let's stick with our tear and tape. So let's just peel off a small piece, and we're going to put it here where we're going to put our sentiment. So it will get covered. So this is the size piece that we're tearing off. We're just using some good pressure to get that stuck on there, because our pieces are lumpy bumpy right there. All right, we're going to take off our backing. Let's go ahead and live dangerous and do both at the same time. Okay, we are going to take our twine. This is white twine. Let's see. I can't decide if I want the end showing or not, so let's tuck that for a second. Here. Let's do this. Let's try that again. Let's make this even easier for ourselves. All right. We're going to make 2 bunny ears. Roughly the same size. And tie them in a bow, a knot, a bow. Oh goodness. Or you can just tie a bow without the knot. You don't actually need a knot, especially since we are going to glue it down. All right. So we have a very loose, wide looped bow. And we're going to glue that down like that. All right, let's do that again. Maybe with a little bit less confusion this time. What do you say? Oh, let go, let go. So we are going to make a loop, try not to twist it, wrap around, tuck the end through, creating another loop as you do so, and pull both loops, right? Just like you were tying your shoe, except we are not doing the knot that you do when you first tie your shoe. we will be getting more bow practice here with one of the other cards. So, another large loopy bow. Okay. Now, before we finish off our sentiments, let's get our other pieces tucked in. Perfect. Oops. So these little flowers we will add a bit more glue to than we did some of the other pieces. So I'm just testing where I want it before I glue it. That way I don't get glue in places that I don't want. So I'm just adding glue in the center flower and the bottom flower closest to that middle stem. Otis, please stop. I don't know what his issue is today. So I do apologize for my loud cat. Okay. Now we are going to, let's see, maybe some dimensionals, definitely some dimensionals. But yes, okay. So we are putting these outside of our arrangement size. So this will hold this on here. Without interfering with any of the other bits and bobs and pieces. All right. Add that on here. Just like that. And then we have these leaves to use to fill in any spots. Gosh, my tweezers just don't want to hold on to those right now. So we can tuck them in on the bottom. It's best to leave these ones to do at the very end so you can fill in any gaps, or like these ones, that white stem is kind of showing in a not so great way. So we can add these guys here right on top. and kind of cover that up. And then if you wanted, I think that will do perfectly. Gosh, these cards took a little bit longer than I expected them to. Alright, so we have a couple extra. That's okay. And those are card number 1. So you'll have to let me know. Do you like the purple one or the flower back one? Which one do you like most? Okay, so this white twine is the Baker's Twine Essential Pack, since I didn't say that. And remember, we changed our 1/2" strip for our sentiment to 3/8 of an inch. All right, let's go ahead and move these out of the way and move on to our first Christmas card. So tonight we have 2 because I forgot last week. So I know that's some stuff right there, huh? I need to move some stuff out of the way. So we are using Christmas labels, stamps, and dies for this card. We are using Peaceful Evergreens dies, not using any stamps. Changing Leaves dies, no stamps. Golden Greenery dies, not stamps. And then we are going to use one of these dies. This is the Spotlight on Nature dies, but we're using it to trace a circle. So we don't need the circle dies themselves, so you can use a different size if you'd like, but this is, I had it, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so let's see. This is our card. How fun is this? So the bow got kind of squished, but I just want to show you this dimension. It's so fun. So very minimal stamping, and sorry, I just realized, going back to that first card, I did not tell you this is the Blackberry Bliss and Gold ribbon. Sorry, I just realized that I didn't actually tell you what it was. I looked over and I saw it. Alright, let's go ahead and tell you all of the sizes. So we have our envelope. And our card base. Again, thick white cardstock. We have our inside piece. It's 1/2 inch. We have our white piece that is 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside, like we always do. We have crumb cake for the front, also 4 by 5 1/4. We have this piece from Country Woods paper. And this piece is 3 3/4 by 5. We have our envelope piece. We have 2 of these die cut. We only need 1, but as you know in videos I do 2 just in case. We have 5 of these little guys cut from crumb cake cardstock, and you could 100% cut those from the center of this. I didn't, obviously, but you could. Okay, so we have 5 of those. We have 10 of the smaller evergreen boughs cut from Garden Green. Okay, we have our bow cut from Real Red, and we have our berries also cut from Real Red, and they're all in this little container. So this one goes together much faster, I promise. Oh, sorry, that was loud. All right. Merry Christmas to you. Beautiful. And that's it. That's our stamping. That ink color will look like you cut yourself. So just be aware. I don't think I have enough water on my chamois to get it washed off. Okay. So we're going to let that dry. Let's go ahead, and we don't need this one because we stamped it real good. We did it. We did it. Hooray. So I did want to show you what I do when my pieces are not quite long enough, because I did not want to cut into a 12-inch piece for my envelopes. Right? So this was a scrap that I had that was more than long enough and wide enough for 1, but was not wide enough for 2 to do the whole flap. Right? So we're gonna let that dry, and then we will play with that a little bit more. So I do not recall if I said our sentiment die cut is also cut from thick white. I like to have my die cuts cut on the thick white. That is a personal preference. So if you don't, then don't. You can just use basic white or white willow, or insert your favorite white piece color. Right? Now there are sentiments in this stamp set that you could add to the inside of your card that would go well. Wait, is it in this one or is it in one of the other ones? It might be in one of the other ones, but that's okay. Alright. I often forget to, but I like to attach the inside before the outside. That way there isn't the weight on the front to lift up the back side of the card. So it makes it just a little bit easier. Okay. Now, looks like a ton. It's not. It is super thin. I don't know if I fixed that or not. Oh well. Okay, so first up we have our bows, our evergreen bows, and we are going to make a wreath out of them. So much like the last card, we are only putting glue at the very end. Okay, and we're gonna start kind of wherever. It doesn't even actually wait, stop, come back. I did forget a step, and it will be handy. All right, so Spotlight on Nature dies. We're going to take not the largest, but the next circle. We are going to center that, and we want to have about the same amount of space left and right and top. Right, obviously there's going to be more space on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to call that good. We're going to take our pencil and we're going to line the inside of that circle. Okay. And if I tilt it, you guys should be able to see that circle, right? Okay. Now, we're going to try this again. One of the things that you can do, let's actually do this. So if we bring in that silicone mat, we're actually going to use that a lot today. Let's just it's not very thick. It's just kind of a glob of glue. And then we can use that to dab our stem in. Okay, so what I want you to notice, if you can, so my circle is here. So this is the spot that touches my circle. The connect to the tree part of our stem is off of our circle. Okay, and we kind of flow with the circle, right? So from here to here is on the circle, at least mostly. Okay, so we're going to continue that pattern. And we're going to line up our center here at about halfway ish, right? We do not have measurements for this part, and we are just going to repeat that. Pick up a little bit of glue, line up about halfway, have our stem pointing off the circle but the rest of it on the circle. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So if you line up about halfway, you should have 10 bows. And as you can see, we have a half circle. So I spread this out so that I don't pick up a big old glob of glue, right? We don't want any globs, we just want some glue. And if you want, you can do more bows. If you do more bows, it'll be a little bit fuller. If you do fewer bows, it will look a little bit less round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here, let's actually move this down a little bit. So, if you don't pay attention and you're busy chatting like I was, you may not get 10. I think I'm going to do 10 anyway. And so we just lift up that very first one and tuck under. Okay. So we now have our wreath, right? Nice. Pretty nifty. Now on these branch pieces, I did trim off the ends. The ends are kind of long. I wanted to be able to one second. Sorry about that. Hubby's playing a game. All right. I wanted to be able to tuck these in. And when I had the long piece on there, it was a little bit more difficult. So I am going to tuck these in every other branch. If you wanted, you could add some berries to these. either before or after. It would be easier to do before. Just saying. So that you can let them dry. Right, they're going to take some time to dry. Here I was thinking I did bad math and no. So if you just to give you an example, you could add the berries before, and these I just used the pearlized enamel effects in the basics, so I used white. You could 100% use red and then do that maybe instead of the berries, which we are going to add next. I thought it might be just a little bit too much, and so I did not. Okay. Next, I'm going to rotate that. So, those are the bow pieces. And then these berries all have, they've all been cut out of adhesive sheet backed cardstock. Oh gosh. So they have adhesive on the back. I thought it would make it easier, and it kind of does. Sort of. The backs are actually super easy to peel off. And then you just kind of add them to your project. And half the time they will peel up off the backing sheet. As you're picking them up. See? Kind of like that. So again, I just kind of did them here, there, and everywhere. I did 2 berries each spot. And then I tried to tuck some of the berries because not all the berries are going to be right out in the open. And some I did on the inside, some I did on the outside. I did try to keep the highlight mark on the berries going in the same direction all the way around the wreath. I think one of my berries went missing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? I'm just going to leave it because I like how it looks. And then if I want, I can add more later. Okay, now we have our bow. We're going to take these two oval pieces and we are going to curl them with our bone folder. Okay, and I did also do the tails a little bit, just in the center there. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your liquid glue and you're going to put a dot of glue and line up those dots. And then hold that pinched for a few seconds so it can stay closed on its own. Okay, so repeat with the other side. My fingers are getting sticky because I'm trying to be fast and I am messy. All right, next, what I found to be the easiest is to add a bit of glue on one of your bows and then glue that together. So now we have our neat little bow. Now we are going to glue this to our tails. So we'll add some glue on the back. And if you didn't want to hold it between your fingers, you can hold it against your silicone mat. Voila. And then it does come with a square to make the front nice and neat. I did cut this out of that same cardstock that had the adhesive backing on it. And just press. Alright, so we do need to glue our bow on, And as you can see, our loops are a different level than the center. So we are going to push our bows forward just a little bit to try to put these 3 spots about the same. They don't have to be perfect. And then we are going to add glue on both loops and the center. And then we're going to glue that to our wreath. And we'll hold that there. Just a few more steps and we will be done. All right, so we have our Christmas sentiment. Let's put 2 dimensionals. I know, if you've seen my videos, you're like, 2 dimensionals. Michelle, are you crazy? I know, I never do only 2. You know what, I might do 3. There. All right, so go ahead and peel these off. All right, now you can glue this just straight down, just like this, right? And it would still be cute. I just thought it was so much cuter to tuck it in to our wreath. And then if these guys pop for you a little bit too much, you can bend them a little bit. Right? Or you can add a little bit of glue so that they are attached right there at the edges of our sentiment. Okay. Our card itself is done. So, what about this envelope we were talking about? So first, let's go ahead and trim off these ends. Okay, we could leave that, but that looks a little bit silly. So I am not going to do that. Right, so we can bring in our paper trimmer and we can trim it that way. Or we can just do our scissors like we would normally. And just trim. Now, there should be more than enough glue on our envelope to still be able to seal. Right, so it'll still seal closed. I'm not cutting, obviously I didn't cut very much off at all. And then I'm just going to take a quick corner rounder and do those corners real quick. And voila. Card and envelope number 2. I love it. It turned out so pretty. All right, next. So this one is done with watercolor paper. And I have a lot of samples to show you. So we do have watercolor paper that we sell, and it is 5x7. You get 10 sheets from it, so you can make 10 5x7 cards super fast, super easy, right? With minimal cutting, you can do no cutting at all. You can just do 5x7 and have it be the whole front of the card, okay? Or you could cut it down like I'm going to show you, and you can make smaller cards as well. So I have the decoration on all of the envelopes is the same. It's just here in this front bottom right corner, okay? So we have this card and this card, which essentially is the same. It's just a different size. This one, however, does not have an embossing folder done on it like the rest of them do. So I wanted to give you some ideas, okay? To save some time, since that first card took a little bit longer than I expected it to, we're going to make only one. I was going to do a 5x7 and a 4x6, but we're going to do just the 5x7 today. And I just wanted to show you, I'm going to show you this technique here, okay? So these are, to save time, we're not going to do the embossing, but these are done with the Birchwood 3D embossing folder. Okay, and you can see that texture. I like both with and without. Okay, so we have multiple different bow styles here, and I'm not going to show all of them to you today, but I'm going to show you some tricks. Okay, so we have two different embossing formats here. We have some bows, we have some embossing, we have some die cuts, and we have some bows. So we have gold embossing powder. We have, this is not embossing powder, this is just, so the bottom one has nothing, but this top one has just a coat of this fine tip glue pen, and it works much like the Close to My Heart liquid glass, in that it gives you some of that shine. It is a hard finish. It's not as thick because the glue itself is a much thinner glue. So that's what this one is. This one is copper, as is this one. So what do you need? So you need a card base, and like I said, this time we are going to do 5x7. Allow me to pull everything out here. So we have the envelope, we have the card base, and I have a very vanilla. We have the, oh, look at that, I didn't even cut that down. Did I cut down this other? Nope. 5x7. Right, so you could do on top just 100%. Okay, So you need the inside piece that is 4 by, no it is not. It is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And that's the base, the basics of stuff. So I am not going to stamp and die cut these pieces. So we are doing the sentiment from Greetings of the Season. These pieces are all from Golden Greenery. As you can see, already die cut, and I did only do a portion of them. I did not do the entire thing. Okay, and I have some extra pieces. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and use gold embossing powder since we already have a copper one. Oh goodness. All right, well. So we do need Versamark ink. We do need Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, and Cherry Cobbler inks. We are going to use the Very Vanilla ribbon. This is such a soft, silky ribbon. It's really nice and kind of crazy. And then some Very Vanilla twine. Okay, so first things first. Let's bring back in our silicone sheet. And we need 2 of these guys. We do need to trim them. So this already is trimmed. It is just a portion of that die set. Because I just needed a small string of berry-ish type things. Right, so we're just going to cut it to be these pieces here. So just 2 cuts. So you need 2 strands of berries. We also need this fine line glue. So we're going to do this one first. I'm going to try and get any bubbles out. And let's okay. I hope we're good. We'll see. So we are going to add our glue on our leaves, and we're going to try to avoid that center mark in the die for the center of the leaf, so that it keeps that detail. So we're just kind of going with the natural flow from the bottle. I'm not really squeezing it. I have found that it works best if you do the outline around the edges first, and then fill in the center. Definitely going to cap that so it doesn't clog. Alright, we're going to let that sit for a few moments. And while that's sitting, we're going to take our Versamark. And I don't know if you can see it very well. There we go. But right here, I have kind of a puddle of Versamark that I dropped in with my Versamark refill. And I'm just going to take a paintbrush. And this stuff is sticky, very, very sticky. And we are going to paint each one of these leaf berries. Right, because we know they're leaves, but we are using them as berries. Alright, do we have that all coated? I think so. Alright. Cover up your Versamark, of course. Now this brush I have to wash out, or only ever use it for Versamark. Either way. Okay, I have scratch paper to catch my powder. And like I said, gold powder. Gosh, I just had to make that difficult, didn't I? Okay, so it looks something like that. I'll set that on here. Now we're going to pick up, this is our glue covered. And we're going to sprinkle that on. Okay, and you can see how it kept the outline, right? So it's white. So we're going to set that here as well. And we're going to dump this back in. Okay. We are going to set these off to the side so that glue has some time to dry. It will not be completely dry by the time we need to do something with it, and that's okay. All right. Next, we need our watercolor piece. And cherry cobbler ink. Our sentiment, it's the most wonderful time of the year. We're going to hopefully stamp that straight and centered. Beautiful. We are done with the cherry cobbler ink. Okay, so Old Olive. And when you look at these stamps, one is much more full than the other. So we are going to use the fuller stamp on the lighter color. Since I dropped the other one on the floor, we're going to use this Post-it note. So this is just a tiny Post-it note, and we're going to kind of center it. When we're stamping, we're going to avoid stamping this frond, this branch, this whatever you want to call it, or attempt to anyway. Okay, that went. Where it is? Here we go. That pretty quickly. The word is escaping me. The ink moved very quickly into balls of ink. Oh my gosh. Instead of it being spread nicely on the stamp, it became drops of ink. Okay, so we're going to do that again. Perfect. I know it looks weird. That's okay. So this is the front of the card. So we momentarily are done with that. So next up is the inside of the card and then the envelope. So we are going to ink the whole thing, and then in that bottom right corner, like that envelope I showed you, we're going to stamp the whole thing. Okay. We're going to grab the envelope. Inside the envelope, we're going to put in a piece of cardstock, or in this case, watercolor paper, because that was the handiest. And that's going to protect, it's going to give us a more flat stamping surface. I'm going to repeat that same thing we just did on the front. Okay. So we are done with this color because we have already stamped these. So if you did not have them done, you would need to stamp 2 to 3, depending on your preference, whole fronds per card. Okay, I personally have found it easier, which is not what I did here, but I have found it easier to die cut them and then stamp them. Other people have found it easier to stamp and then die cut. I do recommend that if you are stamping and then die cutting, only do the larger frond first. Right, do this one and then die cut, because this one lines up on top, and if you don't get it in the right spot exactly, then it doesn't look quite as fun. Okay, now we're going to come back in. These inks are still somewhat wet, so if you have the ability to let them dry, do so. We could heat them up, but we're not going to. So now we have the smaller one, and we are going to do the same thing. We're not going to ink up this one that's off to the side. We're just going to do these two. Because it is watercolor paper, I am giving it a smidge more time than I normally do to accept that ink. That is unfortunate. Okay, that's okay. We can hide it, I think. Alright, that's what happens when you don't wash your stamps correctly between uses. And I dislike that my paper moved at that last second. But it's fine. It's fine. All right. And we are done with that ink color. Again, because we already have these pieces done. So, our envelope is now completely done. Our inside's completely done. So let's go ahead and add this to the inside of our card. So I just wanted to show you that we could have an absolutely beautiful, stunning Christmas card without any fancy paper. Okay. Set that off to the side for now. So now we have these pieces. I will tell you that on all of the other cards, 5x7 included, I used one full piece and one piece that I cut in half. Right, I cut off that little side piece. Okay, so I'm going to move those out of the way. We don't need them. We shouldn't need them. And so we're going to go ahead and take off that bit. We should not need it again. And we're going to kind of lay things out to see how we like them. And it's okay if these don't line up where this line is, right? This line that we made, this is going to be our kind of our hard line. Okay, so the very tips, don't worry, we are going to cut those off. So I would recommend staggering the length a little bit. That one I'm going to have it come out just a little bit so it can cover up that spot. Okay, this, I think this looks good. I have a tiny strip of washi that I'm just going to lay across all three pieces, so I don't have to guess again on where they should be. I'm going to go ahead and grab my pencil and kind of mark that that's where I want to cut. and then just cut. Ooh. In a straight line at about that mark. Okay, and then we're just going to add some glue. We don't need to worry about any glue underneath where they overlap. If you wanted, you could pop these up on some foam tape or not glue down here at the bottom and kind of give them a curl. If you want, you don't have to. Okay, so before we do the heat embossing, we're going to do our next thing, which is a ribbon. Look at how cute this ribbon is. There we go, even cuter. Okay, so we're going to tie this. I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so we're going to take our ribbon. We're not going to cut it off the spool. Okay, we're going to hold it. This is me doing this right-handed because I am right-handed. If you are not, I apologize. You can do the opposite. Period. You can do the opposite, or you can do it the same way. All right, so we are going to hold here. We're going to come up and we're going to do figure eights. Okay, so we have, if I flip over, that's really hard to do, end point. Okay, so we have 2 loops on this finger. And we have 3 loops on the other finger. Right? Okay. So now we are going to trim about that much. I can't read that. Oh. Will you hand me Dad's lighter, please? Alright, so this is what we have. Right, this is what we're holding. And this wraps around like this. Thank you. Right? So we're going to, this one from the top, we're going to pull down, we're going to tuck between our fingers to the front. Right? You're going to grab that, and you're going to pull it all the way up, and that'll pull your bows, your loops up as well. Right? So then you are going to tuck it underneath here like this. Okay. Make sure your loops stay on your fingers. I may have cut it a little bit too short. I hope not. Alright. It's easier to do when you don't have to be slow. Alright. One more time. Hold it in your fingers. So I've already cut it. It's a little bit too short, so have a little bit more. Come down to your wrist with how much you have. Okay? Figure eights. It would help if I did it right. Okay? 2 on your pointer finger, 3 on your middle finger. Tuck through. right? Grab and pull. Let's do just one. Okay, instead of doing 2 loops, we're going to do 1 loop. Okay, so we have 1 on this finger, 2 on this finger. Okay, we're going to tuck that through. Right, 1, 2, pull it up over. Try to make sure it's neat still. Tuck it under and pull. Okay, keep a hold of this one and pull. Okay, so when you take it off, this bottom one is the tail. So now we have a nice, beautiful single loop instead of a double loop for our card. Okay, let's fix our ends here. So I'm going to trim them both at the same time. And then you heard me ask for the lighter. I haven't played with this one with ribbon yet. So you just want to melt the ribbon a little bit because it frays super fast. Okay, this one I have not done that to yet, and you can see how fast that frays. Okay. And how long you leave the tails, totally up to you. Alright, so decide which side of your bow you like better. Okay, and what we're going to do is we are going to grab our piercing tool. And on either side of our center bow, we are going to mark on our paper. Okay. We're going to then pierce through our paper because this baby does not like glue dots. So that is where this comes into play. We're going to take just a few inches, right? We do not need very much. And then we need a needle threader. So I got a 4-pack from Daiso. You can get them at pretty much any store anywhere. And we're going to thread this through. If it goes through, that's okay. Alright, so I'm going to make this a little bit wider so our twine can fit through. And I'm going to pull that through. Okay. And we are almost done, I promise. Feed from the back to the front. And then grab one of those twine ends and pull that through to the back. And then do the same with the other hole. Okay. Just a smidge of tear and tape to make it easy. I know we're not quite done with the front yet, but we don't want our hardware to go to waste. So we're gonna tack our bow on there. So I left a little bit more room than I did last time, but I also forgot that I didn't cut this one down, so that's okay. So if I put the larger bow on there, that would take up more of the room. If I really wanted to, I could do all three. That would look silly. We're not going to do that. Okay. So we can take this off. That glue is dry. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to bring back our embossing. Sorry, YouTube just popped up an error for me, so I was distracted. Alright, I'm going to set this right here for the moment. And this is, one that did not work out. I did not like the sentiment, right? So I'm just using that to have a back behind my die cut piece to give it some stability. I'm going to turn on my heat gun underneath my desk so it can heat up. So heating these and attaching these are the last steps on this card. So we are almost done. Alright, we are nice and hot, which is important for this one. And I'm going to try and do this right here. Okay, so because it's on that glue and that glue is not completely dry, you have some extra dimension. All right, do these ones. It's super fast when your tool is nice and hot. Okay. We might need to snip these just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to wait to do that one. Okay, perfect. I like that one right there. Now, do you need to use a brush to do the embossing on these? Probably not need, but it does make it a little bit easier. But if you think that you can use your ink pad and just get those little bits, more power to you. do wish this was up just a little bit more, but that's okay. It is what it is. We're going to add this to our card base. And we will be done with card number 3. Just giving everything a good press. Now, if you wanted, you could cut these tails a little bit shorter again, but then definitely use something to make sure that they don't fray. And that, my friends, is card number 3. So here you can see the two differences. The two biggest differences is, let's move that down, is this card is not trimmed down, so you don't have the frame around it, and it does not have the embossing, the dry embossing on the background. So, and of course our berries are different colors, copper on one, gold on the other. So that is our 3 on Thursday video for today, for this week. 2 Christmas cards and a birthday card that you could, it could be a thank you card, it could be anything. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you taking your time and giving me a watch. If you could also give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate that. And leave a comment for a chance to win one of these cards. Thank you all so much, and I will see you guys next week.